thought I would try to talk about share. Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you from whoever turned it down. Um, I thought I would talk about Logbook of the World and Club Log. And since I haven't been on the air for, well, next week will be 2 years. So I haven't actually had any QSOs. Well, I have had QSOs, but with other people's call signs. So, but with my call sign, I haven't made any QSOs. However, I was just scanning through Logbook of the World, and it appears as though, uh, even though I have been absent from the airwaves, um, I've collected another almost 800 QSLs in my absence. So I thought I would share some of the ins and outs of LOTW if you're not familiar with it, and then look at what Club Log has to offer if you're not familiar with it. Um, so LOTW is just a method of, it's not a log. You upload your log into it, and it's a method of QSLing. So sending an acknowledgement to everybody that you've made contact with. If they send the same, they send their logs in, and then it does all the matching and determines whether or not you've made contact. And so it's an electronic acknowledgement, an electronic QSL card, and it keeps track of all the contacts for you. And if somebody takes 5 years to upload their log, well, when they finally upload, everybody else that uploaded their log and made contact with them, 5 years later, they'll get QSLs. And so that's sort of what happened to me, which is if we go get my mouse over here, logbook. So I was scanning down through the contacts. So I'm looking at sorting by QSL date and looking to find how far back I had to go in order to get a date that was close to. So here's October 2nd when the house burned down. So starting from that date, this is QSO number 775 at the bottom. So I think it's one of these. So like 770 or 71, 72 QSLs have come in since that time. And so, and these give you the date and time when it actually came in, I think. Or maybe this is the date that the QSO took place. I think that's what it is, when the contact actually took place. And then if you open it, it'll tell you the date that they QSL'd and the date that you actually made contact. So made contact on September 9th, they actually QSL'd on October 1st. So in any way, it keeps track of, can't quite see the top of the screen. the light shade is in the way. So it'll keep track of for you of all your account status. So just looking at DXCC, it pulls up all the different categories, whether it's mixed, which is all different modes, CW, phone, digital, and then separate bands. And it'll tell you all the credits that you've submitted before. So before, I had a whole bunch of contacts over here, and it'll automatically, when you do a submission and pay for the credits, it'll then award credits to you. And so these are all the new ones since I submitted. So I got a bunch of new ones on 160 and 80 and so forth, a bunch on 30 meters. So 85 new credits total that haven't been submitted yet. But grand total for 1,800 and something. There's a few folks here in the valley. I think at least one, maybe two. Ned Stearns is one that's got over 3,000 in the challenge. And if you've heard him talk about trying to make 3,000, it's actually quite difficult from Arizona because you're about as far away from all the DX locations in the world that it's really tough to do. You have to do about 200, over 200 on every band. And so you got to do 200 on 6 meters. That's really hard. You have to do well over 200 on 160 meters and over 300 on 80 and definitely 80 through 10 you've got to have over 300 um, so it's well over 300 because you're making up for things like 6 meters where you may not get 300 and and 160 you may not get 300 but so it's quite the challenge to get that many DX contacts from the Southwest. Let's see. Let's look at. Is it this one? Nope. This one. Okay. They also keep track of all the Workdoll States Awards, and so and they do something similar. They use mixed, so it's any mode, whether it's CW or a digital mode or a voice mode. They do all the bands. They even do band mode combinations. So you can do individual modes to work all the states. They have some different categories for different modes for digital, RIDI and PSK and the FT8 modes. Then they start splitting it up by bands, band and mode. And when the in 2014, when the ARRL had the centennial event, and they had WNAW rotate around all the states, all 50 states, and the 8 territories. And they did it twice. So the first 6 months, they rotate through all of them. Then the next 6 months, they rotate through it again. Every state or entity had one full week on the air. And so I thought I would challenge myself to see if I could work all 50 states on all the HF bands on all the modes. So digital, voice, and CW. And I nearly did it. There's a few empty gaps. So you can see on RIDI, I'm missing 3 states on 80. I'm missing 1 state on 80-meter CW. There's no award for this. This is just, I wanted to challenge myself and went out and tried to do it. Let's see. I didn't really spend a lot of time on PSK 31. I used to prior to using RIDI. And then when FT8 came around, I stopped using all digital modes except for it. But in any event, I think I've probably got 7 or 8 state combination mode that I'm missing. And I'm pretty sure one of them is 17 meters RIDI. Oh, yeah, there's is. Yeah, one. I think it's North Dakota. Or no, I think it's Wisconsin. Actually, we can take a look and see what it is. We can tell it all the states, so it'll list them all and show which one is blank. Wisconsin, yeah. So right up in the upper Midwest. That should be an easy one to get. However, it is 17 meters, and not a lot of people operate RIDI on 17 meters. But you'll notice that almost all the contacts are with the W1AW stations, all the confirmations rather. And so at this point, I'd have to try and hope to find somebody operating RIDI on 17 meters. But maybe someday in the next 20 years. It's already been 9 years since I took up this challenge, but LO2W will keep track of all that for you, and it'll store it. As far as I'm concerned, it's probably going to store it forever. I don't think it's going away. I think they have had some issues with having to upgrade things. They've, I think, upgraded the server system at least 2 or 3 different times since installing it to keep it up to speed and give it enough expansion to handle all the contacts that are being uploaded. I think there are several billion contacts that have been uploaded. So it's not just a few thousand amateurs. There's tens of thousands of amateurs. A lot of contesters will up Logbook of the world, and when they upload, they'll upload 3 or 4 thousand contacts at a shot, and so there's lots of activity. And when we go to look at Club Log, I'll show a page that it gives us more than just our own data. So it aggregates your data with everybody else's data, and you can get some real information out of it. So let's go take a peek at that. Where am I at here? Is it somewhere? No, must be. I don't think I closed it, did I? Oh, yeah, Club Log. Okay. On the Club Log side of things, I typically upload things to Club Log as my backup for a log. And it's kind of good because everything in the house was destroyed. So I have a log. And so it keeps track of everything. Here, what I've done is I've pulled up, I'm part of the local DX club. And so they have a league. And there's also the Arizona, where is it here? Arizona Outlaws Contest Club. Where are they at? Should be right here. Oh, here. And so since I haven't uploaded anything in 2 years, my call has dropped off the list, but you can look through it quickly and see here. If we just go back to the DX Club, generate. Okay. So here's Ned, Ned Stearns. He's at the top of the list. He's got over 3,000 slots. That means he's worked all 340 DXCC entities. And so you can see he's got 160 contacts on 6 meters and over 300 on everything else except for 160. He's almost at 300. So it can be rather difficult to get over 3,000, like I was talking about earlier. But there's some other guys that are close. Lee Finkel is really close. I forgot who N7CW is. Who is that? Oh, Bud. Yeah, Bud up in Prescott, right? And is this Mike? Yeah, Mike is getting close. Who else is close here? Oh, Jim up in Illinois. He was down here for a long time. He used to work at Motorola and then moved to the head shed up in Schaumburg. And then now he's retired, but he's still up in Illinois. Fred, yeah, 2,200. So, I'm someplace right in here with 1,800 and something, just below Rick, I guess. But in any event, this will keep track of you and all your friends. If you're part of one of these leagues, so you can compare yourself and have a little competition as to who's making contact with who and when and how often or whatever. Let's take a look at some other aspects of this. Let's duplicate this and look at, I think it's DX report. Is that it? Yeah, I think. Okay, so one of the things that Club Log will do, they'll aggregate not just your data, but everybody else's data with it. And they'll do it over the past week. So here we're looking at September 21st to the September 28th today. And so within that week, it'll give you things like the solar activity report, what's the solar flux index, what's the A and K numbers. Oh, that's not too bad. Could be worse. The any de-expeditions that are out in the world, someplace, some little remote island that happens to be unoccupied by anybody except for the locals, and none of them have a radio license. So somebody either from Europe or from the US or somebody from Asia, a group will go there and activate that island. And it'll say, well, when was their last communication, their last QSO, and how many QSOs they've made on that particular trip. And then how many unique call signs they made contact with. So did they make 41% of the call signs out of this 14,000 are unique, somebody different. So almost half, not quite. But if you look at some of the others, like Tuvalu, they got 67,000 contacts, but they're only 17% of them are unique. So they probably have folks in there that have made 25 contacts with them because they're making a contact with them on every single band and every single mode, trying to chase this magic 3,000 number. So they're trying to make contact on 160 through 6 meters, and then on voice, digital, and CW. So that's a lot of contacts. And so you can look through and see, well, this person from Ghana or group of people from Ghana, they have a pretty high percentage of uniques. This person from Panama, very high percentage of unique contacts. Now, this is probably a single individual. So they're in the Philippines. LB, I think, is that Norway, maybe? So they must have been visiting the Philippines, got a temporary call sign. 99% of their contacts, they only made 104, but almost every single one of them was unique. So the no duplicates or almost no duplicates or different bands or different modes kind of thing. But it'll tell you the most recent ones. PJ2 in Curacao, that's actually a contest station. So that's why they have 1.1 million contacts. That's a lot of contacts. So they regularly make contact with the same person many times, many different modes, many different bands, and many different contests. So they have a very high number of contacts. And typically when they get on the air, there's probably 7, 8, 9, 10 hams operating the station. So it's a lot of people working a lot of contests. So here's something I found interesting is the most active modes. And for a long time now, FT8 came out in the summer of 2017, if I remember correctly. FT8 has taken over ham radio like a storm. Almost 600,000 contacts. Over half of the contacts made are made using FT8. And there must have been a contest, a RTTY contest in the this past weekend, because usually RTTY doesn't have 300,000 contacts in a week. So there must have been some sort of contest going on. Sideband, that's pretty typical, 60, 70, 80,000. FT4, well, that can probably be lumped in here with FT8. CW, I think last weekend was a contest weekend, so that's a little higher than usual, perhaps. And then everything else, a few FM, some different digital modes, JT65, Whisper, you name it. Even a few AM contacts are listed. Not too many, 63, but somebody made them. But yeah, this has been really interesting to watch. there's only one frequency per band, and almost any time you go there, if the band is open, somebody would be calling CQ. It's quite amazing that it's that many contacts taking place on a weekly basis. It was I think in 2018 or 19, it was down in the 200,000, 2 to 300,000. So I'm pleasantly surprised that it's almost 600,000. Maybe I shouldn't be, but anyway, lots of contacts. So it also will tell you, it'll aggregate and tell you which bands have had the most contacts. So lately, I've been missing out on all the sunspots. We've actually had really good propagation, and there's lots of activity on the upper bands on 20, 15, and 10, mostly due to contesting. But there's also people on the work bands. So 17 and 12 meters have quite a few contacts, pretty high percent usage for DX, making 70 some thousand contacts. Just for this, that's just this past week. So even 40 meters has been open to DX. Not quite a third, a little over a quarter of the contacts are with DX stations. Let's see, what else do we have down here? Oh, so OQRS. What in the world is that? So if you make contact with a DX station and they list themselves on Club Log as accepting OQRS, meaning that they have set up within Club Log so that you can get a QSL card or either a physical card and or a Logbook of the World confirmation through making a submission here. So if we just went and looked at, say, Tuvalu, it'll tell you, let's see. Oh, this is new. So as you can tell, I haven't looked at this in a long time, but I think these are based on, since I'm logged in, I think it's based on my contacts. So it's not just for the past week. This is accumulation of all contacts I've been loading to Club Log for whatever it's been, the last 10 years or more, 10 or 12 years. And so V means for verified, that that Logbook of the World has got the check and verified, and I have a QSL. W means that I've worked it, but I've not gotten a confirmation yet. And C means confirmation, that I've confirmed that this person and myself have made contact, but we don't have confirmation through Logbook of the World yet. That's probably laziness on my part, because you have to do a couple of steps to get that confirmation to feed back into the Club Log from Logbook of the World to get it to turn to a V, meaning verified. But in any event, it looks like they've added this since the last time I've been here. What I was hoping they would tell us, so yeah, they tell us when the last activity was. So when was the last time they were on CW 160 meters? So July of 2019. And it looks like they have never been on 160 meters sideband. So you can quickly look through and see when was the last contact made that they uploaded to Club Log. And so if you're trying to get Tuvalu, you probably should take a look for when is the next DXpedition going to go there, because my guess is that this place probably doesn't have any licensed amateur radio operators. And so the only operators that are there and operating are DXpeditions. And when they arrive, they're only there for a week or maybe 2 weeks. And so it's high intensity. Everybody on the planet that's a DXer wants to get them. And so there'll be massive pileups with thousands of people calling them and trying to work their way into their log to have them pick out your call sign and complete the content, the QSO, and it's just a quick 5-9, thank you, and on to the next one. And so it's not really a conversation. It's just simply a contact with a brief signal report, which is always 5-9. There is nothing else but 5-9. But in any event, it's fun to do. If you get the bug, you'll understand. um, so yeah, we can also look at that. It gives you a nice graph. It tells you when they were most active. So in 2011, there must have been a de-expedition there. Nobody in 2012. Somebody or some group of somebodies was there in 2015. Nobody in 2014 again. Somebody was there in 2015. So it must be a pretty popular place. Somebody's going there every once in a while. And so there hasn't been, during the COVID, there was nothing, and there's still been nothing for the last few years. So I don't know if that's because they have restrictions. They're not letting somebody on the island, people on the island, or what. Maybe people just haven't made arrangements to go back. But they've at least had some de-expeditions go there. Let's, yeah. Oh, is that where it was? It was Tuvula? Okay. Well, that would explain a lot. Clark says he thinks he remembers that this was the island that had a volcano that blew up. That would explain a lot if that's what happened. I totally forgot about that. Or what? Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe it was Tuvula. Yes, there was one in the Pacific that blew up. Yeah, I don't, maybe I was thinking it was Nauru, but maybe not. Maybe it was Tuvula. Yeah, anywhere. For whatever reason, nobody's been there in a while. Let's see what else we can find here. Oh, so another popular pastime is people like to collect grid squares. And well, I guess submit, see if it'll publish it. Oh, so it does. Okay. Good. Real time. um, so I'm guessing all the purple, where's the legend? Ah, here we go. Verified, confirm. Okay, same color scheme. Okay. So I'm missing a few grids in the States. Probably ones that don't have very high population, I'm guessing. And I'm missing a few down here that are probably nobody lives in, unless somebody goes there. Let's see what else. I know there are, zone charts. So there's 40 zones around the world. And so the world is broken up into enough, even more geographic regions. So there's 40 different zones, and people try to chase all the different zones on all the different bands. And so I think I've been fortunate to at least to get a few of them, a few of the upper bands. Looks like 30, 40, and 17, but I'm missing a few on 12 and 10, a whole bunch on 6. I really need to put up a better 6-meter antenna. I was using, I had a log periodic that operated from 6 meters, so 50 megahertz, up through 1.3 gigahertz. But it's a log periodic, and it's only 20 feet long. And so there's really only 3 elements roughly that are active at any one frequency. So you don't get a lot of gain, but you get a lot of bandwidth. And at the time I put it up, I was thinking, well, I'm not sure which of the bands I'd like to play on the most, whether it was 6 meters or 2 meters or 220 or 70 centimeters. So I said, I'll just put up a log periodic and play around and see what I get. I think when I redo my tower and antennas, I think I'm going to put a 30 or 40-foot long boom on for a 6 meter antenna and focus on 6 meters. um, that's where I think most of the action is on VHF for DX. I think it'd be pretty. I know people that have done it, gotten DXCC on 2 meters. Not easy, but can be done. I don't think I have enough time to try and get DXCC on 2 meters unless I do it through satellites or something. But I think 6 meters is achievable, and so maybe I'll pursue that. But 160, all my 160 meter contacts, they're all FT8. They're all that highly sensitive digital mode. And I used a inverted L with a folded counterpoise. And anybody that knows where I live in Tempe, or soon to go back to, I have a super tiny lot. The city lot is only 60 feet wide by 100 feet deep. So to put a 160 meter antenna on that is quite a challenge. But I was able to use to put up an inverted L and work a bunch of the world on 160. But I still have stuff to do there. Let's see. Where else are we here? Zone leagues, super leagues. Yeah. Oh, most wanted. That would be interesting. So there's always a most wanted DXCC, and so a DX entity that people around the world would like to make contact with. And as you might imagine, North Korea, since it's illegal to operate amateur radio in North Korea, would be number one. Everybody on the planet wants to make contact with North Korea. And as far as I know, the last person that was there was a Polish gentleman, a Polish businessman named Dom. He was there for, I think, 3 or 4 days and made, I think, 300 or 400 contacts in that time on sideband. And that was probably 8 years ago. So there has been zero contact since until the leadership change or the rules change. It's almost non-existent. So the next one, Scarborough Reef, you can actually go there as long as you can get past the Chinese military. It used to be a relatively open place, but the Chinese have decided they want everything inside the South China Sea. And so Scarborough Reef is in that location. Scarborough Reef is only 3 tiny little rocks out in the middle of the South China Sea. They actually had to bring their own wood to build scaffolding on top of those little rocks to make a big enough platform so that they could put stations on them. So it's highly sought after, and nobody's been there in many years. San Felix Islands, I'm not quite sure I understand the story there. I haven't looked into it. I think I don't remember now if that's off the coast of Chile, perhaps. I think it is. Prados Island, Kerr Island. Yeah, nobody's been to Kerr Island for a long time. Johnston Island, nobody's been there for a long time. Glorioso, Peter One. I think I missed the most recent de-expedition to Peter One Island. I don't remember if it was last year or was it this year. But anyway, I missed it, so bad luck for me. Kerguelen, that's actually an island to the east of Madagascar and down by Antarctica. Aves Island. Okay, now that Aves Island should be a an easy pot shot because it's right down at the coast of Venezuela. However, it's a Venezuelan territory, and so nobody has been there in decades, um, maybe close to 2 decades. Uh, Bouvet. Oh, Bouvet. I don't know if you've heard, but there's been, I think, at least 3D expeditions that have tried to get onto the island and have all failed in the last 5 or 6 years. Um, and so nobody's made contact with it. There are no people living on the bay. It's nothing but a giant boulder with a big glacier on top of it. um, and so it's in fact the walls are so steep that you basically have to bring your own helicopters in order to go and fly over and land on top of the glacier, on top of the rock, and set up from there. I think there is one tiny spot on the island that you could set up on sort of a beach. It's not very big though, and I think the tide floods it, so it's not permanent either. Um, and then some of these others, Midway Island, if somebody, that's a territory of the U.S. If somebody happens to be there for the military base, you might be able to make contact with them. Same kind of thing with Macquarie. That's a small island with a research station. Every now and then, somebody at the station will have a ham license. Um, Many of these other places are just tiny little rocks in the middle of nowhere that people don't visit very often. Herd Island, I think the last time they were on was, gosh, probably 2014 or maybe it was 2016. Oh, Turkmenistan. I don't know why Turkmenistan is not higher than it is. It over the in the succeeding years, it'll probably creep up the ladder because it's also illegal to be an amateur radio operator in Turkmenistan, and so there hasn't been any contacts there for many years now. So I imagine it's climbing the ladder. Syria, well, Syria is kind of a war-torn country now. What's his name? Bashar? I forget the leader, but anyway, yeah, the country's tore up and there's no operators there. In any event, you can quickly see when these countries have last been on. If we just click on one, it'll give us a little clue here probably. Oh, so Dom was there, yeah, in 2015, 428 contacts. And that was the last time. Nobody else has been there. And nobody has been there since. Let's go. Is it this one? Oh, this. Let's go back. All right. DXCC analysis. So if let's say you're missing some different entities, different DXCC entities, you can at least look and see when the last time they were on or which bands they were on. So here, for this, we're looking at England. There's lots of operators in England, lots of different bands and modes available. They operate almost all of them. They do have one tiny restriction compared to the United States. They don't get to operate as much power. I think their legal limit is 400 watts, if I remember correctly. So they have to put it, if they want to work DXCC, well, they can get the first 100 contacts because they're super close to Europe. There's lots of countries. So they can at least get DXCC. But if they want to work all 340 with 400 watts, that can be a challenge. They have to put in some large arrays large antenna systems to get that. But you can look and see it's over the years. Here it's 500,000 contacts and growing. And when the pandemic hit, it shot through the roof. Everybody was on the radio. And so 2023 is not finished. So uh, hopefully it'll end up here somewhere around 2.5 or 3 million contacts by the end of the year. But you can almost always find somebody in England if there's propagation. Let's see, DX cluster. So it's not just a DX cluster. So what is a DX cluster? Um, People can spot other people on the air. And what is a spot? So let's say, for example, I heard this station, Y13MU in Iraq, and I didn't actually make contact with him, but I could hear him. And so I put onto one of the DX clusters. I enter the information, his call sign, which frequency I heard him on, maybe which mode, and then it populates and sends it out to everybody that monitors that DX cluster. And Clubline has a connection to several of these DX clusters so that it can compare and look at what is being spotted versus your log. So you've uploaded your log to ClubLog, and so it knows what you need in order to get DXCC, what you're missing. And so it looks and says, oh, well, for my log, I don't have any contacts with, well, yeah, I don't think I have any contacts with this entity anywhere. So somebody in Poland spotted this person on this island, and that was today at 0900 UTC. And he's saying, oh, he's up one. So what he's operating split. And so he's at the bottom of the 15-meter band, working CW, and he's listening up 1 kilohertz from where he's transmitting. So this is where it's good to have a radio that has 2 VFOs. So you can use 1 VFO to listen to his responses, and then the other VFO you can set up for your transmitter. So you can hop around somewhere up around one kilohertz above where he's transmitting, where we're listening, and try to make a split contact with him, because there's probably thousands of people wanting to make contact with him. And so he wants those thousands to spread out over 1 or 2 or 3 kilohertz of bandwidth so that he can pick out individual call signs. And sometimes it takes 2 seconds to work them. Sometimes it could take an hour. You have to learn the pattern of each operator, how they're picking through the pileup. Are they working the edges? Are they working the middle? How are they moving? Are they moving in an upward cadence all the time and then going back down and moving up again? And so learning their pattern and how to work them split can be a challenge. But this is, since I'm logged in, it's telling me all the places that I haven't made contact with. So I haven't gotten a contact with Iraq, even though there are quite a few operators there. Nobody in Libya. Who else is here? Lots of Iraq. Oh, Somalia. Yeah, I don't have a contact with Somalia. I don't think I have Cambodia. Or lots of Iraq. Wow. Boy. Anyway, so it'll tell you who is on, and it tells you, of course, what frequency and, of course, what time, which are 2 important aspects to know when they're on the air and which band they like to be on. And then the call sign, so you can be listening for them. Let's see, where else are we here? Propagation. So let's pick Angola. How about that? Month. Let's look at all months. So from my location in the United States to Angola, where in the world is Angola? So it's in the southern part of Africa on the western side, just north of South Africa, which is right on the tip of Africa. And it looks like if we look at this propagation chart, this is what's great about Club Log is it will go through and look at, like I said, all the people that have uploaded and not just your own data, but all of that data to try and make some predictions for you or allow you to predict when would be a good time for you to make contact with these various places around the planet. So it looks like 10 meters has been pretty open. There's 16,000 QSOs, right around 1700 GMT. So that's when you need to get on the radio if you want to try and make contact with Angola. And it tells you for all the bands. So as you go up in the frequency, it gets a little, looks like it's moving a little later, 17, 20. Where are we at here for 80? Super early GMT. Or actually for us, this is 5 p.m. 0 at midnight. So it's 5 p.m. here. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Is that right? They're 7 hours ahead of us. So midnight GMT is 5 p.m. here. So yeah, so 5 in the evening, 80 meters. The sun is just starting to go down. 7, 8 o'clock. It's finally gone down, and so it looks like we're probably getting some gray line propagation. I'd have to look at the map to see when for this time of year do we have a gray line where the sun crosses our path and Angola's path at the same time. I think that's true in the December timeframe. Anyway, maybe we can take a peek at that in a little bit. But around the same time, 160 meters lights up. There's 189 contacts there, but quite a few. I mean, there's 12, almost 1,300 contacts in the early evening hours here in the U.S. So it gives you ideas of which bands and what time of day might be best for you to try and make contact with a particular entity around the world. And so Angola is really close to South Africa. South Africa is probably very similar in its propagation patterns since they're so close together, only a few hundred miles apart. I think they also share a border, but anyway, propagation patterns are probably very similar. So there's lots of tools to help you if you want to chase DX. Let's see. Let's look at Great Circle Maps. So this is going to plot for, let's see, make a Great Circle Map. That's not a Great Circle Map. There we go. Okay, so it's centered on DM43, which is right here in Tempe, and so it's centered on our location and gives us azimuths for every place else on the Earth. So you might think, well, South Africa, that's on the other side of the equator, and it's really far south. But actually, if you point your beam antenna 90 degrees or 95 degrees, so due east, you'll send a signal straight to South Africa. So it doesn't, it's plotting the shortest path around the Earth. And so it's not necessarily the shortest path is not necessarily to point your antenna, say, to the southeast. If you were looking at a flat map, a Mercator projection of the Earth, you'd look at the map and say, oh, well, South Africa's to the southeast. It's probably 140 degrees. But actually, the Great Circle path is much shorter than that, and so it's actually more close to 90 degrees. And so, even when, let's say, you're flying to Europe, and you fly to San Francisco, well, they don't fly over New York. They fly over close to the North Pole if you're going someplace in Europe. And so you'll fly over Canada. You'll never see the East Coast. And it's for the same reason, because they're taking the shortest possible path. So they fly over Greenland and Iceland and then down into Europe. The radio signals are the same thing. They take the shortest path. Now you can work what people call long path, which means if you want to work Europe long path, instead of pointing your antenna to the northeast, you point it to the southwest, and you go opposite all the way around the Earth, and which is much, much further. However, it can be advantageous to work long path. And why might that be? So in the wintertime, when the North Pole is in the shadow of the sun, so the North Pole the Earth is tilted away from the sun, you get lots of aurora activity. So the northern lights, and that aurora activity, it's plasma. Well, that's high energy particles interacting with the magnetic field of the Earth, and it creates havoc on the HF bands. It makes it difficult to hear people on the other side of the Earth when you have to point directly through the aurora. So what do? You turn your antenna back, or turn it backwards, and you work long path around through the South Pole, because it's fully exposed by the sun and there's no aurora. And so you can actually make contact with people on the other side of the planet by working long path, by getting around the aurora. Let's see, what else do we have here? Does anybody have any questions? Holy cow, it's already 8:30. I've been talking a long time. Maybe we can quit here. If anybody has questions, I should have said in the beginning, just speak up anytime. Just interrupt me. Now I tell you, yes. Now you can let loose with all those 45 questions. It's if you do happen to think of questions at a later date, that's fine. Email me, text me, whatever, and I'll give you my explanation. It may not be the right one, but it's the one I use. But I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I really enjoy using these tools to help me find. Because I love chasing DX. I love getting on HF and trying to make contact to all these unique areas around the world. And so using these tools to figure out where's the DX, when they're on, what frequency, what mode, when do they get on, that's important, so that you even have a chance to make contact with them, rather than just randomly getting on the air and listening to the radio. It's much faster to use the tools that are available to us thanks to the internet. Yeah, Clark. Oh, here. Let me get you a mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to do this earlier. If you happen to know Tom Morrissey.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember his call sign offhand.
KE7TM.
He passed away suddenly on 9/11. and his memorial service is going to be starting at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And it's again, I don't remember the name of the memorial home, but it's the one over at Power Road in Broadway
Oh,
at 11 a.m.
okay. Thanks, Clark. Are there any other announcements or information anyone would like to put out? No?
So I have a question about the presentation.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So first off, thanks for opening my eyes to Club Log. I did not realize that it had all those tools in there. My logging software automatically uploads to it, so all the information is there. I just didn't know I had all those manipulation tools. But the one question I had was for LOTW, those numbers that are populated in there, do you have to do something to get those numbers to show up? Like in the awards and all that? Because I have a lot more contacts in there than what's being shown in the logging section or the award section.
In the award section. So let me see if I understand. You've uploaded your log to Logbook of the World, and let's just say you've got, I don't know, 20,000 contacts. What I've experienced is roughly half the people will actually QSL, so that that means half of the people don't even load their logs or send out QSL cards. And so you're looking, I'm assuming, I'm just going to take a guess here.
Okay.
You've made, say, contact with all 50 states, and you're looking for confirmation in Logbook of the World for all 50 states, but you haven't got all of them confirmed yet. Is that,
Yeah,
am I interpreting that right?
exactly. Even though I know that they're there, it's just I can't, and they're confirmed. At least like I could go into QRZ and I could see that they're confirmed over there.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, some people, for whatever reason, you don't even have to be a member of the ARRL. Non-members doesn't matter. You can get a Logbook of the World account, and you can upload your log, even if you're not a member. I think that that's probably part of the reason that people don't upload, is because they don't realize perhaps that you don't have to be a member to participate. And so and they have two different pricing schemes. One is, if you're a member, it's so much per QSO that you have to pay to receive the awards. You could upload to Logbook of the World and never put in an application for the credits to receive the award. And
Okay.
what you'd have is all your numbers would be on the far left over here.
Mhm.
If you never submitted an application. And that's fine, because your contacts that are being uploaded are maybe being validated for people that are wanting to pay for awards and certificates and so forth. And so it'll make confirmation then. But if the two people don't both load to Logbook of the World, you'll never get an electronic QSL. So QRZ, here we can pull that up too. If I can, I'm having to look around the lampshade to see my tabs, but QRZ, here, let's log in quickly. Yeah, Going to ask me for a number, code. Okay. All right. Trust it for 30 days. Go ahead. Okay. So QRZ, they have their own logbook, which is totally separate. It's totally independent from everything else. Now you can load your log into QRZ, and you can receive awards through their program, but QRZ is totally separate from Logbook of the World. And
Okay.
so if you have confirmations in QRZ, but they're not showing up in Logbook of the World, don't worry. It just means that they're not participating in Logbook of the World. Oh, look at that. I got Virgil and Lee and John, lots of people. Okay, so um, yeah, it'll count them in QRZ. And if you upload your log, whether it's from your logging program or from what you've loaded to QRZ, you can take that and upload it to Logbook of the World. But if the other operator has not uploaded their contacts to Logbook of the World, you'll never get a confirmation from LOTW, Logbook of the World. They have to upload their contact in order for a confirmation to come through. And so, although, there's just like Club Log is another separate logging program. It just happens that Club Log gives you lots of additional statistics, whereas QRZ is mostly, from what I've experienced, maybe they've added some stuff to it in the last 2 years that I'm not aware of. But QRZ is sort of like a generic logbook that doesn't give you any additional information. It's only your log. It's not looking at aggregates of everybody across the planet to see, is it a good time right now to be on 6 meters to make contact with Europe? I don't know. Let's go look at Club Log and figure it out. QRZ won't tell you that, as far as I know. And your generic logbook, whether you're using something like N1MM, contesting logger, or AC log, or write log, or DX keeper, or there's just dozens and dozens of logbooks to store your contacts. Those won't give you any information hardly at all either, especially if you haven't made a lot of contacts. If you've only made, say, I don't know, 200 or 300 contacts or 2,000 or 3,000 contacts, it's not a lot of information to tell you what's happening in the bands for the different modes, where you can make contact on a particular day or time or so forth. I think that's one of the biggest things I like about Club Log is it does that aggregation for you, and you can look at any day and time and try to figure out when is a good time to make contact with XYZ country or entity, and which bands or modes I should be on to try and do that. And even what call sign I should be listening for, who's most active from that region. So there's tons of information. Are there any other questions? Or maybe I should ask, was that too much information? Overload?
No, it was good. No, you explained it and then some. So that was all good information that I can use.
Sure. I guess let's see. Last time so it's in the last well, since FT8 came out, it looks like I've got I can't hardly see it. 62,000 contacts and about 36,000 QSL records or QSL cards. It's a little more than half. And there's some tools in the FT8 software and some other software that you can attach to it that will tell you who is a Logbook of the World user, who is an EQSL user, and I think that's the only two. Maybe it labels QRZ nowadays. But in any event, my percentage of getting QSLs has gone up since 2017 because most of my contacts have been on FT8, and um, and since I'm able to screen, I usually don't make contact with people unless they use Logbook of the World. So my percentage of hits for getting QSL records has been going up. But in the past, this was a little below 50%. So I guess I'm finally a little above 50% now. Let's see where I was looking at the, is it in here? There was something else I was just thinking about. It's escaping me. I'm sure after I hang up, I'll think of it. There was one more little tidbit I was going to say. Making contacts, screening logs. Sorry, can't remember it. It just disappeared. Any other curiosity questions, or if not, feel free to email or make contact with me somehow. And if you happen to have questions, and I'll try my best to answer them. And thanks for attending. And I hope you have a great evening. It's still early. It's before 9 p.m. And hopefully I'll make contact with you on the air soon. My house is supposed to be finished in December, so we shall see. It'll probably be a little while before I get antennas up and a station put back together, but once we get moved in, I'll be rip roaring ready to go.